To this episode, let's rewind just a little bit, not just metaphorically, but like literally, like we used to do with cassette tapes. So there was a time before Wi Fi, DMs, and read receipts when long distance love meant a whole different kind of patience. If you wanted to talk to someone who lived out of town or out of state, you needed a landline and a phone cord that was long enough to wrap around your kitchen table or go down the hallway, and a whole lot of strategic planning. Because calling someone long distance in another state or out of town, that came with something called long distance charges. And unless you were made of money or your parents were very generous, thank you, mom and dad, you waited until after 9 p.m. That's when the reduced nightly rates kicked in. So you'd sit by the phone like it was a countdown to the emotional Olympics, ready to whisper your feelings quietly while hoping no one else picked up on the other line, which my little siblings did quite frequently. I had 7 of them. But honestly, the real magic, it happened in letters. Actual handwritten, stamp it and send it snail mail love letters. Back then, if you had something on your heart or your mind, you would just write it down. You'd fold the paper carefully and you'd tuck it in a cute little envelope, added a stamp after you addressed it, and then just dropped it in the mailbox. And then you waited. There was no instant notifications. There weren't any tracking numbers. And sometimes it took days, sometimes weeks. And sometimes you didn't even know if they got it until maybe, just maybe, a reply showed up one random Thursday. For me, my addresses were always changing. Alaska, Utah, back to Alaska, to Idaho, back to Alaska. And Brian, he was all over California. So we had to keep a running list of each other's current whereabouts in a real address book. Anybody remember those? That black leather cover with bent corners, scribbles in pencil and pen, and an occasional scribble out when someone moved with a magic marker. I don't even think I had whiteout at the time. It was like keeping a secret relationship journal cleverly disguised as an address book. You also kept their phone number in that little black book as well. Now, if you really wanted to impress someone, you didn't just send a letter, you guys. You made a mixtape. This was not drag and drop like today. This was literally an art form that took patience, strategic planning, and it was a lot of work. You'd sit by your ghetto blaster or your stereo, listening to the radio, your fingers on the record button, just waiting and waiting for that one song to play. But not just the song, you needed it to start before the DJ talked over the intro, which almost never happened when you actually had the tape ready to go. So when the timing is perfect, you hit record. And when it wasn't, you cursed and you tried again. You'd make this epic 60-minute declaration of your feelings track by track. Then you'd label it with a colored magic marker and write something on the label like, for Brian, fast songs on side A, slow songs on side B. And you could also call the radio station. Ours was 101.3 KGOT in Anchorage on weekends, and they would actually dedicate a song to your special someone when you could get through the phone lines because they were always jammed. And then they would read the dedication over the broadcast live, and then you would be trying to record that as well. So the mixtape was our version of a playlist. So, of course, the dark side of cassette tapes, your little siblings. All it took was one curious toddler pulling on the wrong tape, and suddenly your heart-filled mix was spaghetti. So shedding tears of frustration and more cussing, then we fixed it with a pencil. You'd stick it in the reel and twist it until the tape was back where it belonged, like some kind of analog surgeon, sort of. So why am I telling you all this? Because today's story lives in that world. A world of handwritten words, of waiting by the mailbox, of missed messages, mistimed and disconnected calls. A world where miscommunication wasn't about autocorrect, it was about silence. And where reconnecting after years meant more than just scrolling through someone's feed. So get cozy, whether you're listening in your car, your kitchen, or curled up with your old address book. Let's take a little trip back into a time when love had postage, playlists that had faint analog crackle in it, and every written word mattered.
Friends, we are back.
Hi.
We gotta hear more of this story because we just
Uh,
barely touched base. We talked about lots of miscommunication and Brian asking someone to be your girlfriend by saying, I don't wear this anymore. No.
I was shy, I was
Also,
shy.
how old were you at the time?
17,
17. Yeah,
Okay, so you're 7, and Jenny, you were 15.
15.
15. Yeah. Yeah. And there walks in the doors this really cute guy that looks like
Matt Dillon.
Matt Dillon. Yeah, Matt Dillon. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
ciders.
we have just a lot of miscommunication. We don't know what's happening. Then we're going to have, you guys are going to be apart for a long time. Let's build up a little bit about that because you never really got to the point where it's us, we're boyfriend and girlfriend while you were together in Alaska.
Right.
But I know, Brian, when after high school, you're gone but you really started writing letters then. So talk a little bit about that because I think that's where, at least in Jenny's eyes, like this could lead to somewhere maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah, so, like, after graduation, there was a few times we saw each other, but there was all this miscommunication, so it didn't go so well. Like, I remember okay, so Jenny, we were at a dance together, and this is the
Yeah.
thing too that's interesting 'cause she says I always tapped her on her shoulder.
He always
I
came
never
up
came
behind
never
me
came to
and tapped me on
always in the
shoulder
back, and that
yeah.
just kinda goes with who I was as far as, like, being so shy. I mean, really, I mean, I'd be like, "I don't okay." So I'd tap her on the shoulder, and then she turned around and said, "What? What'd you
Well,
say?"
that was
I was like,
the first time that you came and asked me to dance after the situation at Jumpers.
"Yeah."
And so he taps me on the shoulder. I turn around and I'm looking at him. I'm like, Star's not here. She's not with me. And he was like,
I'm like, "What?"
he's like, do you want to dance? And I was like, oh, okay. We're gone. We're done. We're out there dancing. We're having it. Didn't even think about it after that.
So I mean, and when we were together, we were always like, it was always fun,
Fun.
right? It was always fun. So, but after school or after graduation, I went down to California. I left Alaska, and I went to serve a mission for my church, a 2-year mission down in San Jose. At that time, I was going to be gone for 2 years and no girls, no nothing, but I had letters come in from different girls and
Multiple writing.
multiple girls. Well,
Yeah, sure.
Matt Dillon, just I got to play that a little bit. But but I received a letter from Jenny. So I guess was it Jerry that gave
Jerry.
you that?
Once again,
Yeah, Jerry.
friends.
Yep. So there we are with our friends again. And Jerry gave her my address down there, and she started sending me letters, and I would send her back a letter. And we actually counted them. It was like almost 30 letters or something like
Yeah,
that.
34 letters.
Fourth, and it wasn't just a letter though, because
We had the cassette
we
tape,
have a
the
cassette
talk
tape and we
tapes
talk in it.
with the old little black recorder.
Yes.
With the
Yeah, yeah, that's yep.
and he would sing songs.
Yeah.
But before that last dance, I do remember, and I'd forgotten about
yeah.
this for a long time. I forgot all about this until I saw him, decades later. I remember after that dance, he said, yeah, I'll let you know. He hadn't got his calling yet to where he was going to go. And back then it was through the mail too. There was no email again. And so he's like, I'll let you know where I go. Yeah, let me know. So I'm walking away with my girlfriends, and we get in the car, and I turn around and look back, and I see him walking to his car. And in my mind, I thought, I am not going to see you for a really long time. And I thought, 2 years in a teenage girl's mind is a long time.
Right.
During those 2 years, his parents moved, and my parents eventually moved back to the States. And so that kind of didn't help the situation either, because we went to the same church, and our best friends. So that's what kind of held us together. The glue, I would say, is our faith.
Yeah.
So that's what connected us. And
Yeah.
then when Brian took off and left, I was getting ready to go to Utah to graduate with my childhood friends. And I left Wasilla. And before I did, Jerry's like, you need to write to Brian. You need to write to Brian. He would like to hear from you. And I was like, no. My perspective was I thought Brian was stuck up snot because I didn't know he was shy.
Yeah.
Jerry was the jock, and
Yeah.
Brian was his best friend and does the music scene. I'm like,
Yep.
he's not shy. He's always got girls milling around. It's like, what? So now he's trying to tell me he's shy. I was like, anyway, I understand that now.
I mean, I
Yeah.
got out of my shyness like on my mission because you're kind of
Have to talk to people.
like you're talking to people and
Well, and then I thought,
all the rejection.
well, and Jerry did tell me too. And I thought as well, it's like we can just put our thoughts and feelings down on paper and be friends and not with any of this drama. No, like it was just our authentic selves, and we could get to know each other on paper with a handwritten letter. And I was scared to death to write him. And Jerry's like, no, no, you need to do it. In fact, he called me. I talked to him while I was in Utah. It was long distance because he was in Alaska. And he was like, no, I promise he'll really, he's very encouraging. So I wrote it. I wrote him a letter finally. Took me a few weeks and not kidding. From California to Utah, I swear the mail's like 2 days. 1 or 2 days back then. I got home from school at my friend's where I was staying, and there was a letter from him. I'm like, he wrote back that fast? Like, I was like, what? And so we continued to write. I think it was like 2 or 3 letters a month back and forth with the cassette tapes and the cards.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And also I write songs. And so I was writing songs at that time on my mission. And I wrote songs before that too, but I really got into it on my mission. And so I would send her like cassette tapes of me singing
and playing the piano.
and playing the piano. So I did that for 2 years. And I remember like showing like some of my roommates, my companions, like a picture of her and her friend. I think it might have been Debbie. I don't know. But it was a picture of her and they're like, "Oh, she's cute." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna date her when I get back." So I do remember that.
Yeah.
And being like, "Oh," because when you're writing letters back and forth, that much, they gotta like you. There's gotta be something there, right? And I was kinda coming out of my shell too during my mission.
Yeah.
So,
And also you have more space to, like, write your thoughts or feelings or
yeah.
share, like, who you are
Yeah. Yeah,
instead of
so there was a lot of that.
15
But
minutes
there was also miscommunication though, a little bit in the letters. Um
oh,
Wait,
Well,
wait,
yeah.
wait, 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 what? I wanna hear this.
oh.
Well, because
I
it's
think she
part of
just
it.
kicked him under the table right now.
Gosh.
Oh, well,
We found a letter and it was really sad. And I was in college. My dad had hired some help in Alaska for the summer. After I graduated from my high school in Utah, I flew back to Alaska. That's summer of 1988. My dad wanted me to work in his office and do some data entry on his big old compact computer with the printer with the green and white paper that goes
Yep, yep, yeah, with the
I
little
the little holes. And so that I had a job in his office for the summer, and his employees would, walk in and out and where's Ivan? Where's your dad? And oh, you must be his daughter. And there was this one particular person that took a liking to me, and he was kind of just all over, like following me everywhere I would go. Long story short, he was the guy I married. But uh there was I was talking to Debbie about it at one time. She came down to college to visit me, and I was like kind of conflicted and be like, I don't know what to do with this guy. He was older and I was young, and I'm like, I really have feelings for Brian, and I don't want it, to mess that up with Brian again. And she's like, "Well, you need to like let him know what's going on in case somebody, because there was a lot of other girls that went to Brian's high school that were in my college. And so I'm like, if they see me hang out with him, they might write to him and say something, and then he'll be like, "Who? What am I hearing about you now?" So
Yeah.
Debbie's like, "It's just best to be honest." And so I wrote him a letter, and I it's gonna make me cry because I read it and I know exactly where I was at in my head at the time, when I wrote it to him, because word got back to me that this guy, he wanted to marry me and he was gonna propose to me when he came back from Alaska working for my dad. It was getting around town. And he wasn't from there. He was only there on a temporary basis in the summertime. And I was terrified. I was like, I just graduated from high school. What the heck? I want a career. I don't, I want to be in college. I'm free from my brothers and sisters. That's why I was 8. And so I was just, I'm the oldest and set an example for them. And it was just, anyway, pour my heart and soul out to Brian, essentially. Like, there's this guy, I need to tell you about him. It's really hard for me to talk about, but I feel like I should tell you. Um, he wants to propose to me. I'm too young.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I said, please help. And he can't really help me while he's in
What
California.
did I tell you?
And I eventually got a letter back from him that says, pray about it. I did.
You were waiting for him to say, "No, Jenny.
Just give me
Wait
any
for
clue.
me. Just wait for me, Jenny."
Wait, that's all I needed to hear, but that pray about it. I'm like, okay. But I hadn't read that letter since I wrote it, and I remember that I was laying on the floor in my apartment on my stomach with my roommate on her bed, and I was just like, "I don't know if I should tell him, I don't know, but I have to be open and honest because I don't wanna have any more misunderstandings." So, he's kind of thinking that that led to
Those-
the misunderstanding we had later when he tried to call and get a hold of me,
Mhm.
but didn't quite work out.
Yeah.
Let's jump over to that because
Yeah.
that is literally like the turning point in some movie somewhere, which and
It
it's like
is.
these things
Yeah.
don't just really happen, but they did happen. So talk about that because Brian, you were wanting to see Jenny. Like
Yeah, so my parents had moved to Oregon. She thought it was Vegas.
I was told that your parents moved to Vegas.
So they moved to Oregon, and I was done with my mission. I went back to Oregon, and I didn't know anybody there. And when I got home, I had Jenny's number because she gave it to me.
You asked for it in a letter.
I didn't call her for those 2 years, but I called her when I got back. And because I was writing songs and stuff like that, doing those kind of things, I was, like, wanting to go down to Utah because there was a studio down there, and there were some things that I could do, and I really wanted to show my songs, and so I
Mhm.
told her, I said, "I'm gonna be coming down to Utah." And this was, like, right when I got back. I didn't have anything else going on. I didn't have a job or anything. I was
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
You called me the night you got to your parents. You said, "I
yeah,
just
okay,
got."
yeah, so I just got so obviously, because I called you the night the
Obviously.
day I got back. And and so I went down to Utah, and I know I didn't have a car, so I had to get a ride with somebody else. I don't remember all the details, but when I got down there, I did, go to a studio, put some songs down on tape. I was gonna send some songs into some people and, see where that went. And I called you the night before I went to the studio. The
Mhm.
next yeah, so we said we're gonna have lunch together,
The next day
and I'm gonna call you the next day. So the next day happens, I go to the studio, and I call
from a payphone.
Jenny from a payphone, and
My phone
there
number,
is
my
no
landline was
connection. I
disconnected.
could not get a hold of her,
Yeah, so
and I
Jenny, you didn't tell this part of the story.
okay.
Yes. So
And
he
I didn't know any of this was going on, like,
No, this is like,
and
yeah.
I just like,
was no what he didn't know. It took like decades.
I
So
imagine I was thinking, "Oh,
here we go.
she disconnected number. It's like, what is she doing? You know, I'm out of here." And
She's playing games again.
she's got some guy following her anyway, and she's gonna get married. So, just I'm out. So so what happened on your end?
You're right. So he calls me that night. He says, "I'll tell you in the morning. I'm going to be downtown at a recording studio." He told me that general area where it was going to be. And I'm like, "Oh, that's perfect. I work downtown at the mall. That's great. So I'll call you in the morning. I don't have a car and I have to figure out how transportation." He had carpooled down from Oregon with some other young adults picking up other students at colleges because it was during the holidays. It was December to take them back to Oregon. So that was your ride back and forth from Oregon. So, but in Salt Lake, you were trying to figure out how to get where you needed to be. So he said, "I'll call you in the morning to tell you where to meet me." Perfect. Next morning, there was no phone calls. And I went to call my mom in Alaska and 'cause I was
How cute did you get yourself though? How
oh, yeah, so I had a black long leather skirt I bought at the women's specialty shop that I used to work at. Our shop used to dress like the news anchors, so they would come in and it was really fun. It was a fun job. So I had this black leather skirt and this cute red leather sweater with shoulder pads and leather fringe hanging on the big belt
Ah,
on the
yeah.
side. Yeah, that was my
She's all decked
outfit.
out.
Oh, yeah, 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 it was fun. There was no dial tone, and I was like, what's wrong with the phone?" And I ran over to my neighbors across the hall. "Is your phone line working?" Because they were doing construction on First Avenue, and I'm like, "Maybe they hit the phone line."
Mm.
And no, their phone was working, there was a dial tone, and so I called my number, and it said, "This phone has been disconnected, no further information is available." And I was like, "What is going on?" So in those days, you can hit 0, if this was a rotary phone, by the way, and you can call 0, and the operator would come on, and I gave her my phone number, and I'm like, "Why is my phone disconnected?" And she's just really snarky. "Due to non-payment." There's been not one payment made on this bill since its inception, which was in September, and this was now December. And then my roommate that was standing next to me, she was really tall. She was like saying profane words. And I'm like, why is, because she heard me say, why is it disconnected? And she was like, oh my. So we go storming off back to our apartment. The person that had the utilities in her name wasn't there. She was at the mall working where we all worked. And it started making sense because she was coming home with bomber jackets from New York that were popular back then and other things. And what we had done is we were writing her personal checks for our long distance phone calls because we all were from out of state. And we would go through the phone bill and itemize it and total it up on a calculator and then give her a personal check for that amount to $200 or $300, whatever long distance bill was at the time.
That was expensive. Those bills were expensive back then.
Oh, way.
Yeah.
And this was from September to December that she hadn't paid one bill.
Like,
So, yeah, it was a lot of money. So, that was her problem, not ours, because we've been doing our due diligence and paying her. So at that moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, Brian's going to think that I did this. That's how I used to block people. Our phone numbers back then weren't connected to all these apps and services. I mean, maybe Blockbuster Video, that's how they found your account.
Yeah.
But that was easy to change your phone number. It wasn't a big deal. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I started panicking. I'm like, oh, I wonder what's happening if he's tried to call me. So I better go find him. So I ran down South Temple past the Cathedral of Madeline and the other church. And it was like, it was noon and the bells were like tolling the noon hour. And it started to rain. And so I ran like 4 city blocks to get downtown to the area where I thought he was supposed
she
to
thought I was at
be.
this one studio where I wasn't. I was actually like
We
2
just-
blocks.
We just found out 2 months
found
ago
out.
through your notes that you wrote
Yep.
at that time, the address.
Where the
We're on
studio
3rd
was,
West, which was 3 blocks further west than I was trying to find you.
Weird.
So we just found that out
Yeah.
through his notes. But
She thought I was.
I walked all over the place. I sat outside on the bench of this building I thought he was in because they did have a recording studio in that building, and you had to have a key pass to get in that building. It was highly secure. So I just sat out and looked. I was waiting for him and looked around, walked everywhere.
And it's raining. And
Yep,
you're
it was in
in
December.
skirt.
I was in my leather skirt and I didn't want it to get ruined because I hadn't had it weatherproofed yet.
That kind of is a movie, isn't it? It's kind of,
No,
I can imagine.
Well, it's also in a novel right now.
It is in a novel. Yes, it is.
but when I couldn't find him, I had to go to work at the other mall across the street. And so when I got over there, I looked through all the white pages because I had a phone at my job that worked. It was at that dress shop that I got that leather skirt at. And I went through all the white pages in Salt Lake Valley trying to find any Drolingers. There were no Drolingers in the whole entire valley. I'm like, was he even really here? So I'm like, there's no Drolingers here. And he said he's with family. I didn't even think about it could have been your mom's side with a different name because, I was only 19, 18. So anyway, I flew home to Alaska. And while I was there, my mom's like, oh, well, he has your address. And I'm sure he'll write something to you, like why he couldn't get a hold of you.
Not if you ghosted me.
I couldn't call my roommates
Not
because
happening.
they didn't have a
Bye-bye.
phone to find out if there was a letter in the mail. And then the volcano erupted, and I couldn't get back to Salt Lake until the middle of January to check them. And when I finally got there, there was nothing. And I didn't know what part of Oregon he moved to. I didn't know it. How do you find somebody back then? It was like,
Yeah, it's hard to do that.
so I was like, oh, well, I guess this is a sign from God that we're not supposed to meet up or something. I don't know. Back to high school games.
And because I
He just
didn't
drove off and left me.
Yeah, and because I didn't write her or didn't try to get a hold of
What
her,
happened?
Jenny imagined in her mind
Oh yeah, Jenny. What did you imagine?
that what? That what? I mean, it's kind of funny now.
Well,
It's also in the
there's
book.
there's this cliff that out at Point McKenzie Bluff that my dad made into
In
a park
Alaska.
in Alaska. It's across the bay from Anchorage, Cook Inlet, and there's a special area where it's really scary. There's like this road and it just ends. But anyway, I just envisioned in my mind that Brian just drove off that cliff and into a blaze of glory, into the image below, and he was dead.
I died.
He died in my mind. That's how
Yep.
I dealt with it. Okay. And I ended up marrying the guy that was pursuing me.
And I moved on and got married the next year as well. Actually, we both got married the next year.
In fact, I was having my daughter well, the same month he was getting married.
And you had no idea because
No,
back in the
0. And also, Debbie and I, we connected here and there, but she was in Seattle. Jerry was in Hawaii. He had actually gotten married.
not to Debbie.
No,
No,
to
no,
Debbie,
to
not-
someone
yep.
else. So all 4 of us were all
Were-
in different
yeah.
states and different experiences.
But she kept in touch with Debbie. I kept
Off and
in
on.
touch with Jerry off and on. So
Just off and
both had
on.
our friends that we connected
But
with.
we never discussed Alaska, Debbie and I. We were only discussing, you know, our current events, our husbands, our jobs, careers, our children. We never really reminisced about Alaska too much. And I think now that's because she, you know, always had that connection with Jerry, and I always had a connection with Brian. And so it was just kind of like we just never discussed it.
Yeah.
It was, I think, because our souls were hurting
Mhm.
for that missed opportunity in that time. But then later, she and Jerry did reconnect.
Yep. Before
And
us.
which kinda led to you guys reconnecting.
Yep. Yep.
If
Later on.
people want to hear how you guys got reconnected, you're
Hey,
gonna
but
well, yeah.
so I wanted to say something that was like interesting too, the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
The studio I went to the day that the misconnection there.
The sad day.
Yes. So the studio I go to now down in Utah, it's actually the son runs it.
Oh, wow.
I, and I'm doing songs there, doing some stuff there with him. And so
The song you recorded for our wedding
yeah,
vows
and-
that you sang to me
Yep.
was recorded. at
Wow.
that thing.
So it's kind of
We're just
interesting
finding
because it
all the
was his
sound.
dad that had
Cool,
the
yeah.
studio, and now it's the son. It's in Bountiful.
Yeah, it's in
Yeah,
Bountiful
Bountiful.
now.
So
Yeah.
now it's Salt Lake to Bountiful.
It's just a little, like, 10-minute drive from Salt
Yeah.
Lake. It's just around the corner.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just interesting how things kind of connect afterwards. I mean, after all the dust settles, you know, like, oh, what happened? But I didn't know anything about the phone being cut off because of mispayment
So you
until
go
30, what was it?
32 years.
32 years later.
1989,
Yeah, 32.
2021.
32 years later. Yeah.
Which we're gonna get to next. So
Yeah.
you guys have to come back. You have to listen. This story is so okay, so that's the sad parts, all the sad parts, all the misconnection. Now we gotta get lots of happy parts, lots of just the reconnections. It's just amazing. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
And it's love.